going on, Chooms? JonJonTheWise here, and I got another Cyberpunk video for you guys. Today, we're going to be continuing the series of going through my campaign notes and giving you guys ideas on how the campaign actually went down, how the sessions went down, what I changed, what I took out. And it's really cool if you're a game master and you want to see how notes transfer into the real gameplay. And I wanted to give you guys all that insight. So part 3 is coming up. I don't think you need to watch any of the other previous parts because you get little nuggets of ideas, and I make sure to keep you guys up to date right at the beginning of this video. So go ahead and watch this video, go back to the original, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. Now, before we go on, you know the deal. Go to the Discord. Link is in the description below. Make sure you guys join that Patreon, patreon.com/JonJonTheWise, if you want to support this channel. I really appreciate all my patrons out there. And if you want to get some really cool minis, go to monsterfightclub.com. Using the link in the description, I'll get a little portion of the sale on whatever you buy. Thank you all for your support. Let's continue with the video. So last where we left off, the players are looking for Dr. Faber, right? Dr. Faber has been kidnapped and they don't know exactly how it went down. They got jumped by Arasaka thugs as they got outside of the encampment. And now basically in my idea, I'm like, all right, my players have been in this nomad country. They've been in the Badlands. They've experienced what that has to do. Let's get them back in a city. We're playing Cyberpunk. We have to get back to the city. Originally, I thought, okay, we'll just explore this whole Badland area, and if we want, we can go to cities here and there. We can go to different cities. I didn't think that we would be going to a city so quickly, but I realized that my players were kind of getting bored, you know, and I had to read the room. So I decided to send my players to Dallas. That's where they were going to find another lead. That's where the story was basically going on. They went from over here where the star is in the Amber Oasis, and they have to travel up to Dallas. Now, they could take any one of these roads, as you can see, but these roads are treacherous. There's bad guys, there's bandits, you name it. Especially the places that are red, those are combat zones. So Waco is like a complete combat zone. You want to drive through that, you're driving through hell. But there are designated trade routes that may still have bandits, but they are far less treacherous. They're safer to go on than the other lanes because there are patrolling security forces that go around in this route and make sure everybody's okay, you know, take care of threats. And that's what the players decided, yeah, that's what we're going to take, and they're going to go to Dallas. Now let's talk about Dallas. So what's the situation with Dallas? Well, I thought to myself, how cool would it be if there was an entire city that was a corporate zone? Not just like a portion of the city, but the entire city itself has walled itself off, and the only way you can get into central Dallas is if you have some kind of permits or some kind of whatever, and a lot of dignitaries go through there. So I thought, what a cool place for my players to go in. You know, it's not the kind of place where you can have a gunfight out in the streets. It's a corporate zone, so you got to mind your P's and Q's. You got to use your wit. And if you do get into a gunfight, make sure that you get the hell out of there before the cops get there. Now, the problem with trying to keep a corporate zone intact in one city is that's not always going to work out. So they do have a combat zone, and the combat zone is surrounding the city. There, you do still have to go through the combat zone to get to Dallas, but like I said, it is a protected route. Even though it goes through a combat zone, it is patrolled and it's walled off, and they have very little incident because Dallas secretly has some kind of, let's say, alliance with the gangs that are around the surrounding areas, and they say, hey, keep all the bad stuff out there. We'll turn a blind eye to a lot of the things that you do because you give us that kind of protection. And as you can see, there's kind of like a little bit of a blurred line around Dallas here of where it turns green to red and kind of turns orange. And you can see how Plano and Fort Worth are also within that green zone. And basically everybody's working together. There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of risk involved, but it's a great place to be if you're invited. It's a bad place to be if you're not. So you drive through the Main Street district of central Dallas, a corporate zone city surrounded by combat zones. The clean streets, neon lights, and high fashion citizens are all around you. The roads are maintained, buildings have modern designs, and the police are patrolling the area in all black C-SWAT gear of closed helmets, large caliber weapons, close flying drones, cyber dogs, and mechanized exosuits. On one corner, you can see two women chromed from head to toe wearing the latest Ferranochi summer collection while they giggle and sip their Euro coffee. On the other corner, you can see an angry man in a suit pleading with the police officer who's towing his 2045 Arla Phantom for illegally parking in front of a CityNet info station. You notice that no one is openly carrying a firearm, a rare sight in a large city such as this. The sky above is an azure blue, but you can occasionally see a ghostly red glow seeping into the artificially colored skyline as the Zetatech sky projector fails momentarily. You reach your destination, the Magnolia Hotel, a large high-rise twin-peaked building with tan-colored walls and a vertical marquee that reads Magnolia in a red on white neon coloring. Curbside, where you stopped, are parked a row of luxury vehicles manufactured no later than 2038. An attendant in a red and white striped button-down shirt tentatively walks up to your vehicle. He takes a look at the 7 of you. Oh, yeah, that's right. There's 7 people packed in there. Oh my God, who are the 7 people? Well, we have an exec. He has somebody, and then 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I guess there was 7 people packed in a Nomad vehicle. It packed in this dirty Nomad vehicle and looks utterly confused. This area is for guest valet parking only. Please move along. My players are definitely standing out in a corporate zone like this, and I played up to that for sure. They're going to like a really hoity-toity hotel in a corporate zone, and they really don't look the part. There's one of them that is an exec, so he kind of has to like vet for them and be like, oh yeah, these are my associates. But everybody else basically does not fit in Central Dallas. Now, that doesn't mean that they're automatically going to be kicked out of Central Dallas. That doesn't mean that they're not welcome wherever they are. But it does mean that they stand out. There's attention on them. And people are wondering, like, why are they here? Who are they with? It's kind of like when you see a child by themselves. As a parent, you're like, okay, where's the parents? You know, and you're scanning around and trying to figure out, okay, who's the human being that's with this human being. And it's kind of the same thing. It's the players standing around and other people looking at them with that same kind of eye, especially the police, you know. So the players definitely have to play with that kind of obstacle right away. One of the main things that I like to do, especially in these social situations, is using these style checks or these skill checks that are usually glossed over in most campaigns. And it's one of those skills that just sits on the wayside and is like a secondary skill. But in my game, it's a very important skill. Wardrobe and style, personal grooming, and conceal reveal. All 3 of those are generate a number. You basically tell your players to roll that skill. Whatever number they give you, you write it down. And that's what NPCs play against. So whenever NPCs do perception checks or just come within their vicinity and have to do a resist torture drugs because of their personal grooming, they play against that DV. So the worse they do, the easier it is for the NPC to go past it. If the NPC surpasses it, then they're in trouble. They're called stinky. They're told, sir, you can't come into this establishment wearing what you're wearing. Sir, I can see your firearm. I'm calling the police. I added those skill checks to give my players an extra obstacle and to really just make them sweat. Make them realize, like, hey, you know, you really do stand out. Not only do you stand out, you smell and you're dressed bad and everyone can see your gun. Other than that, we do have a rocker boy in the group. His name is Drex. So I added in social interactions where Drex is recognized. I think that would be a really fun obstacle. It doesn't necessarily mean that I made it happen. I think I did in this case, but sometimes I'll throw that in there and be like, hey, just a reminder to myself that, hey, remember that one of the guys that you're with will be recognized or could be recognized. So if they go to a bar, the musician flakes and the owner will pay Drex to play. So if they decide to go to any bar in the Magnolia Hotel or outside, I've said, hey, if they ever touch a bar, Drex will be asked to play, which will add to his reputation. Once my players get to the Magnolia Hotel, I wanted to make sure that I also have these notes about what kind of fixers are working in the area, because the kind of fixer you work with depends on the kind of person you are, really. So for example, Sax is a corporate fixer. He's a middleman for corps and the street, and hangs out at Knox Park. Okay, so you already know this guy works with corporates. All right, maybe the exec in our group who has a lot of persuasion and a lot of social skills, maybe he'll be like, okay, yeah, that's the guy I want to work with. It's easier, let's go work with him. Then there's One Time, a ticket scalper. He finds things. He's an information broker, hangs out at Victory Park. And maybe the players decide, you know what? This guy's kind of more of a street guy. He's a wise guy. He has his ear to the ground. And they might think like, this is the kind of guy I want to work with. He's somebody that will understand our plight, will understand where we're coming from. And maybe it's easier to trust him than it is Sax, who works with corporates, because corporates are nasty. Then there's Ventana. Ventana finds killers, organizes ransoms, and also an information broker, but of the criminal world, and knows about gangs. So Ventana might have been a former gangster themselves and maybe gets their hands dirty. The idea is the players might think like, hey, our guy was kidnapped. This guy finds killers. He probably knows who got involved. So no matter who they picked, I gotta still give them the information, you know what I mean? Because it's dumb to have them be like, yeah, let's go to One Time, and then One Time is like, I don't know. And it's like, okay, the players just wasted their time. Even though that's realistic, that could happen. That could happen where you go to somebody and be like, hey, I need some information, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. But that's not fun. And when we're hanging out together, we have limited time. Me and the players, we want to get on with telling a story. We don't want to hit dead ends just for the sake of realism. So no matter what, these guys are going to get the information, but the way that they get the information is what determines, you know, how I'm going to do it with the fixers. So it's all about the delivery on it. They did end up deciding to go with Sax, who's a corporate fixer, and it's exactly like I said earlier. The exec was like, hey, I got all the social skills, I'm a corporate, it makes sense that we work with Sax. And Sax becomes a big part of the campaign, and it all starts right here. Now, I also wanted to show you guys, you know, you will see some of these things emboldened for Knox Park, Victory Park, Farmers Market. These are real places in Dallas. If my viewers are watching from Dallas, you'll be like, dude, these are real places. I know those places. That's because I looked up the various districts in these cities, and Dallas I did the most work on. I think it was the first city that I worked on. So in central Dallas, every district has its own piece of information. I basically took inspiration from the Night City sourcebook, where you get a little like paragraph or a little bit of an idea of what's going on in the area. And let's go to Knox Park, where Sax would be. And Knox Park is right here. It's bars, shops, restaurants. There's the Katy Trail, which is a jogging, walking, hoverboarding trail that runs through Uptown and Oak Lawn. And it has corporate housing. Now, I basically tweaked what the real life information is by going to some place like Wikipedia. So if you go to Wikipedia for Knox Park, Dallas, it gives you all the information you need. It's the north of the Uptown neighborhood and east of Highland Park, blah, blah, blah. The area is home to many bars, restaurants, and shops. The Katy Trail also runs through the neighborhood. And I was like, what's the Katy Trail? Click on the Katy Trail. And then this piece of information down here says an 8-foot wide secondary jogging trail has 1 mile left of construction, will be completed once more funding is secured, and blah, 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 blah. So, you know, this 2045, hopefully they secured the funding by then. That's what I supposed. And that jogging trail is up and running. Not only is it a jogging trail, it's a hoverboarding trail, because remember, we're in Cyberpunk. So I basically took the real life places and I cyberpunked them. I'm like, okay, if there's housing there, it's corporate housing, you know, it's all the good stuff. And in 2045, Central Dallas is a beautiful place to be. I'm like, okay, I still need stuff for my players to do. I would personally say at this point, I've over prepared. But there's also sometimes where some things will happen and there's a lull in the gameplay, and I'll be like, okay, well, this lull happened. I need to fill it with something. So let me go back to the things that can happen. And I might even just go down the line. Players are harassed by a group of corpos hopped up on drugs. They harass the players. Violence will be met with violence from police, and the players stand out. It might sound a little bit incoherent, but they're just notes to me, like reminding me, hey, the players stand out. If they're violent, the police will be violent. They harass the players. So these corporates obviously are under the influence and they're making bad decisions. There will be consequences for the players if they don't act in the right way. Anytime you have no idea what to do with your players in a situation that they're in, just have somebody harass them and be like, what are you looking at, punk? You know what I mean? It could be anybody. And the fact that they're in a corporate environment, they're already stressed, thinking like, we don't want to stand out. We don't want to get into a fight. But what if a fight comes to them? You know, then they don't really have a choice. You know, they have to do something. Giant screens in Central City area have advertisements for various corporations. Randomly, a news bulletin comes in. Good morning, Central Dallas. Our top story today, blah, blah, blah. So this top story has to do with Continental Brands, has to do with the main plot. I don't think that I ended up doing this. It's fun, you know, you see it in video games. You're playing a video game and you hear like, especially like those open world video games like Cyberpunk 2077, on the radio of the in-game radio, you'll hear events that are happening. And I definitely wanted to do that for my players and also connect it to the main plot, because I could just give them some like random, you know, oh yeah, Arasaka has come up with new eyeballs. No, we're not talking about cyberware. We're talking about genetically grown eyeballs. And that's like a fun little story. But like I said, it has nothing to do with our plot. We have limited time. We want to move things along. So instead, I'm connecting a coincidence. That's not a coincidence. I'm connecting a news bulletin to what's going on with the players. Essentially, while there is a world going on behind my players, their perspective of the world is that they're the center of it. And that's not by accident, all right? That's really done because they are the center of it. They're your players. You're playing a game with your players. They're the most important part of the story. So they should be the center of it, but it shouldn't always feel like they're the center of it. If you do too much, it takes them out of it, you know? So you got to be careful how you throw these in. You got to have like plausible deniability. A fixer will provide information on the Black Sand group for a favor. Depending on the fixer, they need the player to do something for them. Once they're done, they'll be paid a fee and given information leading to Waco, Texas, where the Black Sand HQ is. So this is the main juicy part of the story that will move things along. Now, Waco, Texas, as we said before, is a complete combat zone. As you can see, it's all red. So the Amber Oasis started in Waco, Texas. They were corporates that were there, and then some bandits came in, took over the town. If you watch my previous videos, I break it down more. But now it is a complete gang territory, and it is hell on earth. So I tell my players, basically, like, that's where you got to go next, because the Black Sand are there. Who are the Black Sand? Let's check out who the Black Sand are. The Black Sand are an elite ex-paramilitary mercenary group that has gone completely rogue after the Fourth Corporate War. They are ruthless killers that have no regard for human life other than their own. Their motivations: money, power, expansion. Notable members, I have the names of their notable members in case I need NPC names, but basically, using my 3-goon method, they are elite. They are a formidable opponent. Each encounter will have 1d6 grenades, you know, like these guys have 4d6, 5d6 weapons, and these are the people that kidnapped Dr. Faber. So whoever had them do the job obviously has a lot of influence, has a lot of money, and knows exactly who they are, knows how capable the Black Sand are. So the players basically have to go to Waco, which is their headquarters, and has to figure out some kind of information on the Black Sand group because they were behind the kidnapping. I have all the information I need. They come to Dallas, they go to the Magnolia Hotel, they get some information about a fixer, they choose a fixer, and then they go and meet the fixer. So after I wrote all these notes, the players basically, we had our session and they got to the Magnolia Hotel and they caused trouble. They caused absolutely so much trouble. It got down to basically where they either were going to get violent in the hotel because they were asked to leave, or they just basically had to be like sorry, apologies, and leave. And they apologized and had to leave because they knew that they were in a bad spot. And one of the players, God rest his soul, is no longer with us. He's the one that basically instigated everything. His character instigated everything, and it was hilarious. And I believe what he did was he broke one of the TV screens in the hotel with his axe as a joke, and it sent off an alarm. The security came with the hotel staff, and they're like, "Sir, we caught you on camera doing it. We have cameras everywhere. Like, why did you do that?" And he was like, "Well, I could do whatever I want." And they're like, "No, sir, you can't. Either you leave now or we call the police." And he had like security with him, and like the players probably could have taken the security. I mean, not probably, they would have, but that's still not smart. You know what I mean? So basically they were like, okay, I guess we're banned from the hotel. And they left. So but before they left, they chose the fixer from the three options that they divined. So they decide we're going to go to Saks in Knox Park. As you all leave the Magnolia, shunned and banned from the famous Dallas hotel, Chloe is the assistant of the executive. You know how you get to have like an NPC? Chloe is that assistant. Chloe informs you all the fixer you're looking for presides at Tommy's Terrific Car Wash, a real place. It is a staple car wash lot in the Knox Park, Henderson district. So blah, blah, blah. They're going to a car wash. Standing behind the glass window, with a broad smile on his face, stands an African-American gentleman in gold-rimmed square glasses. He has a chubby build and a white fisherman's hat covering his goateed face. Every finger on his hand has a gold ring on it with a different colored gemstone, and a gold chain lays around his neck with a round golden coin at the end of it. In the center of a coin is embossed a black saxophone. The man is holding up an ornate ebony cane in a comfortable position as he observes the car wash machine do their work. Nearby, in a 360 perimeter, you can see large bodyguards with sunglasses and black suits. They have a stern, sentinel look on their faces as they observe Garrett and Ross Avenue, real places. You also notice that a corporate-looking gentleman with rolled-up sleeves has a worried look on his face that borders on desperation. This unknown corporate is pleading the man you can only assume is the fixer you're looking for, one known as Saks. So basically, I wanted the players to come up on Saks and try to get a beat on who he is. He likes to go by this car wash. He's always fully protected. He's never in danger. And the reason he goes to this car wash is because he enjoys watching the cars go through. That kind of small character detail might not seem like much, but it adds a little bit of depth to the character that's like really easy and is kind of mysterious. It's like, why does he enjoy it? What does he enjoy about it? Is it sinister? Is it weird? Or is it just like lighthearted fun? And it just, all those unknown questions make you distrust this fixer a little bit, but at the same time, you're intrigued. That's at least what I was going for. Now, when they come up on this fixer, they don't know how he negotiates. They don't know how he interacts. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if they walked in on him doing his business, talking to a corporate, and then they can observe and come up with some ideas before they start talking to him and have some kind of game plan. I've always found that that's like my way of helping them, because up until now, I've only been throwing obstacles at them. They just got kicked out of a hotel too. So sometimes you got to throw them a little bit of help. And this isn't enough help where I'm telling them what to do. I'm letting them come up with their own conclusions, but I'm giving them a little bit of a hint of like, hey, check out this guy and how he interacts. Saks, this is my life we're talking about. I can't do what you ask. Please, anything else. Without a single change in his jovial expression, Saks replies, Derek, when you came to me, you knew there would be a cost. Do as you're told and clear your debt with me. There is a 4-second silence between them when Saks turns to the man. This time his facial expression has changed to a much more serious one. Do we have an understanding? The corporate, in a reluctant manner, responds, Yes, sir. Saks's grim look transforms to a smile again. Good, Derek. Good. The corporate walks away, fear in his eyes, and your chance to talk to Sax has arrived. So you know that he has a sinister side to him. The players know that. They know that he's also fair. He said, you signed on the dotted line, and that's what I expect from you. So he expects your word. So his word means something. Now, the players can interact with him in whatever way that they can. They definitely don't want to be like this guy. This guy got no respect from Sax. Sax said, I don't care about any of your trials or tribulations, okay? You're a wimp, and you signed on the dotted line, and this is how it goes. So the players might come with a little bit of puffing their chest and maybe a little bit of, hey, you don't know me, you don't know what I'm capable of. The thing about cool characters is if you don't know what kind of cool things they're going to say beforehand, you might have some issues in the social environment, and it ruins it. It's like they do a lot of ums and uhs and excuse me, I didn't mean to say that word. They trip on their words, and that's because you as a game master are tripping on your words. So instead, I added a few lines here that I think Sax might throw out that are pertinent to the story, or maybe give them some kind of idea of him, such as, everything has its place. If any of these machines fail to do their job exactly, talking about the car wash, then your experience will suffer. Codes and standards, they're what separates us from the animals. You know that he has codes and standards. He has an ideology. These are anchor points that the players can hold on to. Edge runners, what a title. Putting themselves on the line to survive. It can all go wrong in a flash, yet it's the only logical recourse for many. So the idea is he understands the plight of the players. He understands what it means to be an edge runner, what it's like to be in 2045. But at the same time, he's like, man, these guys are living on the edge. Life and death is fleeting, and it's basically can happen at any moment. So he is a little bit more sympathetic. You know, is it genuine sympathy, or is it him being like a sociopath or something? And it's just like, oh, interesting. Look at these creatures and the things that they go through. So Sax knows everything and can find out more with little effort. So I'm giving the players everything with Sax. All they have to do is ask. He will offer his usual rate, 2,500 to 5,000 eddies, depending on who's asking and what for, or a trade of services. Good help is expensive. The best are priceless. So you might look at these prices and be like, whoa, that's a crazy amount of money. The back of the core rulebook says you shouldn't give that much money, or whatever. My personal world is more akin to Cyberpunk 2020. My homebrew world uses that kind of pricing and the kind of like, I don't want to call it common sense, but it's the stuff that we're used to. I left room for bargaining, but that's what he asks for his information. The players might think like, why give him money when we can trade services? So he says, good help is expensive. The best are priceless. You can give him a service, your services, instead of payment. And that's what the players basically decided on. They're like, okay, why don't we do that? You know, we're capable people. We're edge runners. Why don't we go do this little thing for him, and then we'll get the information that we need. Sounds like fun. That's for next time. It's definitely going to be an interesting one. So thank you all for watching. I hope you guys found this to be insightful and fun. And we're on to a new year, 2025. I hope you all enjoy it. We got more content down the pipeline. All right. Take care and have great games. Bye.